So a very good evening to you all, and welcome to a random little live stream this evening. So we're waiting for Jordan to arrive, and we're going to be having a chat. We're going to keep this under an hour, guys, just so you know. Massive welcome to Adam. Thank you for the first two questions. Leanne, thank you for being here, my love. We're going to be keeping an eye on the chat ourselves tonight, because we've left it open to anyone, and sometimes on YouTube, and because humans, that's a big mistake. But we will see. We'll see how that goes.
Yes. So slightly impromptu, but a chance to have a catch up with Jordan following Vegan Camp Out 2024. Talk about all kinds of stuff. Obviously, as Paul has already alluded to, we will we'll take a few questions at some point.
Well, Jordan.
Well, yeah.
Here he is, the lad.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you doing, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How about you guys?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks.
All good. I suppose the first thing we need to check and just make sure of is that everybody can see us all and hear us all, okay, because we are live streaming. So can somebody just pop in the chat and just let us know that all the tech side is fine and you can see and hear us okay?
That would be extremely helpful.
I'll take it from Cat.
Thumbs up. Cat's giving us a thumbs up.
That's great. Brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Vanessa.
Seeing and hear us fine.
And Orestes. Lovely. Wonderful. So yeah, welcome, Jordan. I think last time we spoke to you, it was like an hour and 45 minutes. We had an in-depth chat.
Do you know what? Actually, I've got the link to that, and I'm going to share it, because we're not going to be talking tonight about how Vegan Camp Out started and all that kind of thing, because we've already done a huge chat with Jordan on that very subject. And I've just put the link to that chat in the chat here. So you can go back, should you want to, and have a look at that. What we want to kind of talk about tonight is the successes of VCO 2024, which we were honoured to be a part of. It was a fantastic experience. And we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about 2025 and the changes that will be coming. Oh, and we've got Miasma joining us as well. Well, Miasma's boy.
Miasma's boy?
Miasma's boy, alter ego.
Miasma's boy? First I've heard of it.
So I suppose the first thing I just want to say, just out of politeness really, Jordan, because you're taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Are you fully recovered from Vegan Camp Out 2024?
Yeah, still catching up on sleep. I keep falling asleep just in the day because I just had so many weeks of not enough sleep. So in that sense, not properly recovered, but like mentally, yeah, getting there. Still got a few weeks of stuff really before everything can be properly closed down. But that's more from like a, back of house, like payments and invoices and still some of that kind of stuff. But except from that, yeah, it's pretty much coming to a close now, which is nice because then I can have a little break, maybe 3-4 weeks, and then start back up. I mean, I'm already working on 2025 stuff now, but like properly work on 2025 stuff in 5 or 6 weeks time, maybe.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant.
I've got a question to ask you about 2025. How many venues have you looked at before you came to the conclusion? And we'll get on to like where it is and why it is in a bit, but how many venues did you look at before you thought this is the one?
Well, for 2025 specifically, not necessarily that many. It's more the fact that we're just always going on site visits all the time. So in 2021, 2022, maybe not so many in 2023, just because we knew we would be at Vista for 2024. But we're always just visiting site visits. But yeah, for 2025 specifically, maybe about 12 or 13 maybe. So still like quite a lot to most people, but given that we've probably visited 150 to 200 venues over the last 6 to 7 years, we've certainly seen a lot. So like, you know, I have spreadsheets for like all the venues, and so there's very few new venues that even enter that spreadsheet, because I already know every venue, you know, what they cost, if they're interested in us, what their like ethical rating is, and, you know, issues they might have there, and then obviously acres and all of that kind of stuff. So the list of venues that we could be at is already only like probably 30, like max out of like the full, you know, 200. And there's a lot more on my list as well. So it's probably like 300 on my list. I just haven't visited them all because I know that they already wouldn't be suitable, if you know what I mean. So like, yeah, the list of venues that would be suitable is only ever like 20 to 30. So then it's out of them working out what was like better for us than Bicester, because there were certain changes we wanted to make, be somewhere with like more trees and more shade in case it's super hot, super rainy, you know, and not have such like a flat and windy feel that Bicester's had. Obviously, it was a bit better this year than last year, but last year was quite bad. So really only came down to about 5 that was suitable for what we needed for 2025, but also weren't booked up, were interested in us. And then also just got back to my emails, because, you know, not always every venue gets back to your emails, even after 3 or 4 nudges. So yeah, it really came between 2 venues, and this one was by far the best one at the very end. So yeah.
So did you I noticed a little reel that you did at the new venue, kind of showing where things would be. That's on Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah, that's from our site visit about a week ago. Yeah.
So if anyone fancies going and having a look, I mean, it looks like a big, beautiful site. So I'm already excited.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, if we could go, you know what we're like, Jordan. We could chat to you for hours about all kinds of different stuff. But like we said right at the start, we had a really good chat with you previously, and kind of covered all sorts of different things, from like inception, you know, all the way through to, you know,
I'll link it again in the chat,
the pros and cons around, you know, running not just a festival in general, but running a vegan festival.
Yeah.
I think what we wanted to touch on a little bit with the live tonight as well is some of the positives that we took from 2024.
Well, let's talk about the main positives, shall we? There were 12,000 people who had taken the time out of their schedules, taken the time off work, bought their tickets, and had a shit hot time. And I've read so many people saying, particularly this year, 2024, that the accessibility team went above and beyond. So many compliments on that.
Yeah.
So many compliments on the diversity this year.
Food, talks, music, the diversity in all areas.
Yeah, exactly, like everything. And of course, there were issues with the toilets again, which is, they're still some of the best toilets at any festival that goes on. So it's like, you know, we've got to own that. And of course, this year there was a bit of a major slip up with water, wasn't there? Because somebody ran over a pipe.
Yeah, I mean, that caused the first issue, and then that caused a load of water to leak, which wasn't planned. So then we had to get water in, which was quite a quick process. But then once you've got water in, it takes like 12 hours to actually like fill to all the different stations. So it's like a small mistake that causes a big mistake, and then it's just a time issue. But yeah, I think if people hadn't had such a good time this year, people would remember the water more. But like, I think it was just a time where people were like, okay, there's no water, better go buy some or fill up from the few taps that still had some water. And then once it was back on, I think mostly overall, people had a really good time this year, better than last year for sure. And I've seen a lot of comments of people saying, you know, the layout was better this year, and the more new areas that we had gave, like you said, even more diversity. There was more food. There was still didn't have enough, but certainly more coffee. And I think things were a little bit better organized this year as well. Like you said, accessible was a lot better organized. We had more fencing in certain places. There was still, you know, a few issues with like security, telling wrong people to go and camp in VIP, which made too many people in that area. But like, yeah, you're always going to have a few things that this could have been better, that could have been better. But I think overall the event was quite positive. Certainly seemed to be like a higher, you know, approval rating than last year. And that's always like a good, yeah, like what you want, like to do better than your last one. But honestly, like for a few months, even though I was super busy planning 2024, because I knew that that would be our last year, and I'd already sorted the new venue for 2025 since like February.
Right.
For so long, actually, that was like the main thing in my head in terms of excitement. Like, obviously, I was looking forward to 2024, but I still knew that the venue, you know, I can say that now we're not there, but like, I still knew the venue wouldn't look that great, and it'd still be quite windy and quite open and quite, you know, dull in that sense. So in a way, I was more excited about announcing the future at the new venue we're at with all the new changes that we had than I was for 2024, if that makes sense. But like,
yeah, absolutely.
For me, I'm most happy that the attendees, it's never about me, even if I wasn't in like the best mind, you know, place with 2024 and was more thinking ahead. What always matters to me and the rest of the team is that everyone else had a good time. And like I say, except from the few issues, I feel that overall people felt it was a better event than 2023. So I'm happy in that sense.
Well, that's kind of one of the things that I'd commented on, and I'm probably going to paraphrase because I can't remember what I actually commented now on the VCO socials. But I'd kind of touched on that whole thing of like your patience, not just you yourself, Jordan, but you and the whole team that are kind of involved and hands-on with everything to do with VCO. Your patience and consistency, not just in putting messaging out to let people know what's going on, but also that learning and that continued improvement, I think is something that you should be really proud of, because I think when you're doing something like this year on year, to sift through all the BS and get to the constructive feedback from people and then try to continually improve year on year and implement some of the stuff that people are suggesting, I think that's testament to you and the team, and like, you know, credit to you all really for being able to kind of continually improve and do things better. And yeah, 2024 for me personally was absolutely incredible on all fronts. Like it really was genuinely, and just smiling faces every direction that you look.
That's the main thing.
You know, and
people
even
having a good time.
Even with like, you know, the stuff that you can't get away from at any festival is queuing for food. But I'll also just take a second to give credit to the actual, all of the food vendors, because you see a queue for food and you immediately kind of think, oh, but then you accept the fact you're at a festival. But then actually the speed that the vendors work at to get you through that queue as quickly as possible, it's not something that a lot of people acknowledge. But the pace with which the food vendors work at to get those queues down and to get you moving through the queues as quick as possible, that in itself is a fantastic thing as well, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
You know, it really is. I should point out, by the way, Adam's got a couple of questions that he got in right at the very start.
I'll read them.
So we'll come back to them. But if anybody has got any questions, please do put a couple of question marks in your comment and stick your question in there, and we'll get to some of those as we're chatting with Jordan as we go through the next sort of 20-30 minutes or so.
Oh, and just I'm going to link another vlog in the chat here, which is those vegan guys vlog for Vegan Camp Out 2024. And if you look at the drone footage right at the start, you'll see a little arrow pointing at Jordan, who was in a field on his phone, trying desperately to sort the water situation out. And he was on the phone for about 2 hours solid, pacing up and down this field. So we understand that for you, it's like non-stop work, even when you're there. I mean, like you said, you didn't even get to go and see your sister do her set this year, did you? And we didn't.
I don't think it was my sister. I don't know who it was. It was definitely.
I thought it was Ellis.
Huh?
I thought your sister's called Ellis, isn't she?
Yeah, but she didn't do any kind of set. So
I thought she'd done like a drum and bass DJ set or something. No, where have I plucked that from? Oh, plucked that.
I probably said to you though at some point that I was missing something of a friend or a some family member. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely missed a lot this year. It's probably the least I've ever seen of Vegan Camp Out in my life, which was a shame. But again, like I go back to, like, I would prefer to have a worse time, even if it just means that like other people have 10% of a better time. Like if everyone's cool and everything's fine, I want to be out there and away from, you know, my little station and get to see the event. But even then, and I definitely don't mean this in a big-headed way because it's crazy, and you know, I'm actually saying it's kind of like difficult at the same time. But even when I did go out, I genuinely don't think I've had it before in any other year where I couldn't walk more than 5 seconds without someone coming up and speaking. And it was like really nice. And I could not believe I spoke to more people this year than probably any other year. But at the same time, like I would go out just for an hour or something to try and go and get some food, but it would like take up my whole time. So I'd be like rushing back to the hut, quickly changing to go on stage. So the whole weekend was just like madness, but it was so nice at the same time. The fact that people were so happy and so many people wanted to speak to me, and yeah, the fact that everyone else was going about having an amazing time. It didn't matter to me as much that my backstage point of view was just constant hectic dealing with issues. But yeah, like from the little I saw, it looked good. So
I mean, we missed loads as well, didn't we? Because of course, for those of you that don't know, myself and her down there, see ya, are the vegan queens, and we hosted Mind and Body After Dark 2 nights this year, entertainment, karaoke, and of course getting ready for that. We're on, can I just say, by the way, 2 drag queens getting ready on 2 of the hottest days of the year in full makeup.
I bore witness to only a small I bore witness to only a small portion of the vegan queens kind of getting kitted up and getting ready. But that also kind of linked in with one of my thoughts I had before, which was, I think 2024, we can kind of say legitimately that we've been more involved with Vegan Camp Out than ever before. And it kind of gave us a little bit of an opportunity to see kind of behind the curtain, really, and behind the scenes, as to just a small percentage of what goes on behind the scenes.
Everybody works their asses off.
Yeah.
That's what we noticed. We noticed it with Ollie and Jonas in Mind and Body. We saw you on your phone trying to sort all that shit. But everybody works their asses off.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. And people appreciate it. You know, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about bringing a load of vegans together. It's about supporting vegan businesses. It's about helping vegan charities. It's about sharing the vegan message. And it's about creating a vegan village for a weekend.
And also having like a drink and a dance and a smoke and everything else, if that's what you're into. It's like it's all of them things you just said, of like education, important for the movement, good from a business side and raising money and spreading the message. But at the same time, not overall, but at the same time, it's kind of like being at any other music festival where you've got different live music happening and DJ sets, whether that's like rap or like techno and drum and bass and like, all these different things. So yeah, you know, I always say it's not just one of the most unique festivals in the world because it's vegan. Even out of that, you don't have that many festivals, even on like other specific niches. Like I've been to niche festivals, and some of them have some really cool art, or they have some really interesting talks, or one will be like, oh, that had really good food. But even then, a lot of the niche and like interest group festivals around the world don't, like, you couldn't feel that you were at a drum and bass rave there at the same time, or that you were at a, you know, like a concert if you're seeing Kate Nash or Maccabee or someone, or like, you know, maybe the food wasn't that great because there was only a few food vendors. So I do feel it ticks so many boxes, even if you're not interested in veganism, of just an event that's got education, fun, music, parties, yoga, meditation, amazing food. And there honestly aren't that many festivals like that in the world. And I'm not saying that's to my credit, because my vision has like grown and changed along with everyone else. Like my vision was the original vision, and then I definitely had a bigger vision than that. But my vision has been taken so much further because of the 10 to 15,000 per year people like guiding me, and like you said, telling us what they want more of. And you know, I've added so many things to the festival that I didn't necessarily particularly like, or wasn't a fan of, or didn't really want to spend money on, but I gave them a go. And obviously not all of them worked, but actually the majority have worked. And that's from people telling us what they want to see at the festival. And so the festival was so much bigger than me, so much bigger than my team, and at this point so much bigger than the Vegan Camp Out name. And like I think that's probably like the proudest thing that me and everyone on the team has been able to do, that it's taken off like a life of its own type thing. Like I don't know if ChatGPT or PT whatever knows the answer to everything, but because I've never used it before, the other day someone sent me the link and I was like, oh, let's ask it what is Vegan Camp Out, not expecting it to actually know the answer. And it gave like a 3-page because I was like, are they just copying and pasting info off our website? But it was like, no, it was all put in their own words using their own AI generated things for all the different areas of the festival. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But I don't know if that means anything. Maybe there's an answer for everything on ChatGPT.
I do think that testament to you that you've listened to people. Like you just said, you've heard people say, we'd like more of this, we'd like more of that, and you've put that into action. And we have to thank you for taking our idea of, why isn't there a little cabaret tent somewhere?
Quite a big
and you ran with that idea, and people loved it. And you know, we loved it.
It comes back to what we were saying before around like the inclusive nature of Vegan Camp Out and the diversity. And I think you're absolutely right, Jordan. We've been to quite a few festivals over the years, and I don't think we've ever, I know we've never experienced the variety, the diversity, and the inclusive nature that the Vegan Camp Out provides. And I think most people, to be fair, they go to Vegan Camp Out knowing full well and make their peace with the fact that they're not going to be able to see and do everything. But that's kind of the whole point for people, isn't it? Is that they've kind of got a restaurant menu that they can pick and choose from. And then a lot of people create a whole timetable and schedule for where they're going to go, what clashes with what, and color-coded Excel spreadsheets and all sorts, which is wonderful.
Oh, and before we move off the coffee issue, can I just, if anybody's planning to go to Vegan Camp Out 2025, just buy yourself a little gas cooker and a kettle and maybe a little cafetiere. We had these fabulous coffee cups this year where you actually make fresh coffee in your cup with a little plunger, and it was perfect. We still bought coffees.
But particularly for that, for first brew, first thing in the morning. You know, that's just a simple camping hack,
so
right there.
Take your brewing tackle, folks, and stop bloody moaning that there's not enough coffee. Adam has a question here, Jordan. He says he's got a list of questions, but his main two: will there be a payment plan to spread the cost at some point before the festival next year? And will the family camping section still be there with the kids' activities?
Yeah, so the easy answer to both of them is yes. Second doesn't need any explanation. Family will still be, how it is every year. I think a few people, and it is our fault, to be honest, because we just got a load of photos from the venue like quickly, and we were like, okay, cool, let's make this into a little like slideshow of things. But because all of their photos are very like party in the woods photos, because that's a lot of the festivals they have, we used a lot of their photos, and I think it made a lot of people think like, oh, is it only going to be like DJ sets in the woods now, and does that mean it's not going to be family friendly anymore? And so we've kind of had to go to like back to square one and be like, okay, forget the photos we've posted. Vegan Camp Out is going to be exactly the same as it's always been, except from these very small changes. Like there's now some nice woodland that's going to have some DJ sets in. It's a day longer. We'll obviously get into some of the other changes, but I think that's made a few people think, oh, is it not going to be as family friendly? But like I say, it's going to be the exact same event, just a few small changes, which are only going to improve them areas, not take away anything that we already have. So family is going to be exactly the same. Payment plans, I just don't want to give a date at this point. We thought they'd be up by now, and we said that a few weeks ago, and they're not. So for now, hopefully it should be any day, any week now. We're just waiting for it. There's always a lot of work that has to go into payment plans because of
I should imagine
legal stuff and banking stuff and terms and all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully it should be sorted. We'll certainly do a post and an email to everyone once the payment plan tickets are up. So for anyone listening, like the price, I mean, again, never say never, but the price shouldn't change from now until the festival. But obviously it's quite a lot of money for some people to pay in one go, and especially right now because like none of the lineup is out, none of the entertainment is out. That should be like November time, but because we're selling so many tickets, we announced a few weeks ago that a third of all tickets have been sold, but in about a week's time we've got another announcement that's a bit higher than that to announce. And so understandably people are asking about payment plans because that allows people to pay over about 6 months, I think 4 to 6 months. So as soon as they're out, we'll do an email and a post to let everyone know.
That's brilliant. I think the other, which before we get to a couple of other questions as well, Jordan, I'll just chime in and just say one of the things that I notice, we notice because we're on social media a lot, probably an unhealthy amount of time to be fair, not compared to yourselves, of course, but is that the consistency of you actually getting the information out and the messaging out. And I know people do miss it sometimes, but I do appreciate, and I think a lot of people do appreciate that the messaging that you put out, the reassurances that you put out to people. I think you as a team, you were on it pretty quick after VCO 2024 with updates about the new venue, all of the positives, reassuring people, talking about the whys and wherefores in terms of, making that transition to the new venue for 2025. So credit to you for that as well. But there's another question here, isn't there, from Peter?
Yeah, Peter's asking, why is the number almost reduced by half for 2025? Is there a short answer for that, Jordan, or is it quite complex?
Yeah, I mean, just to be pedantic, it's about 35%, so not quite as high as 50, but just over a third. But I mean, there's a few different reasons. Like, I mean, I guess the main two are that the event will be much more sustainable. Our break-even point and our financial situation will be much better. Not necessarily with less people, because yes, less people equals less revenue, but on this new module we have at this new site and different ways things we don't need to buy anymore because they're already at the site and things like that, along with the reduced capacity, just means that we're not in a situation every year where we're trying to like sell as many tickets as we can just to try and break even and then make, a small to average profit. So at this lower amount, it just means that we've got like more financial security, which in this festival world right now is very hard. Like this year, 2024, is the year that the most festivals ever have gone under. I think it was something like 40 to 50 of UK's festivals went went under this year. So yeah, things are like very difficult. And then the second is, which I guess ties into this, but more from a longevity, sustainable kind of point of view, is that whilst also trying to get as many people to come to the festivals as possible, that's also like so much of our time and our stress and our energy comes in getting them like higher numbers, like from 10,000 onwards. Whereas if we only need to get 7.5, then we can just spend more of our time doing what we do best and not like, okay, how many tickets have we sold today? How many tickets have we sold today? Because that's just not a nice feeling, especially in the events industry, where you can have several years where you don't just lose money, but you lose hundreds of thousands of pounds. Like, so it's such a volatile industry that for our stress and sanity and years off our life, as well as like to be in a better sustainable position, 7,500 people just works a lot better for us and for the event. So yeah.
Nice one.
Nice one.
Let's just show that lovely comment because it's just really nice. Vanessa says, "Hi Jordan, thanks for VCO 24.
Simple and to the point."
And she also asks, where did you find the security team? They were so friendly and polite, not like any event I've ever been to before.
I don't even know if you can answer that, Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily where we found them. I mean, it was through a friend, someone that's worked for Vegan Camp Out before. He also has a security team, so like, yeah, we let him do it this year. They're not going to be doing it next year, that just because that's like one of the conditions with the new venue, that they have their own security team that's already like part of the venue, if you know what I mean. And that's great too, because it means they know the site really well and they're not coming into it blind like they do every year.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Yeah, just before we carry on, by the way, I'm just mindful that my asthma's sitting here listening intently.
I know. So, miasma, just give us a few words on how you think Mind and Body After Dark went this year.
Put me on the spot. I was just here nodding, in support. No. Beautiful, we had a cracking time. We had some lovely folk. We had a lovely time with them. And, again, just thanks to you, Jordan, for giving us that space and that platform for so many amazing vegan artists. And those people who don't know their artists yet, who became stars after their turn on karaoke,
Yeah, like Barney and his bloody mouth organ. He brought the tent down, that lad.
They'd practice that in the pub. They'd practice that. I'm not having that. We're just off the cuff. But no, in all seriousness, beautiful space and, great festival. I had a ball. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Nice one.
Now, Steve says, will the hemp redemption stage be there again next year? We've read so many wonderful things about it. Even we never got to visit it. And if they're there next year, we're going.
Well, I visited, but it was mainly just kind of...
You filmed a bit, didn't you?
Doing the rounds, getting some footage and some B-roll, and kind of... I had the pleasure of kind of walking round the hemp redemption stage and just felt all the vibes, not just the vibes coming off the stage, and Mobius Loop and that whole kind of vibe, but also the vibe from everybody that was just sat chilling and really enjoying the experience.
So will they be back in 2025?
Yeah, and again, it will be so much better than this year, just because, this year we had to juggle around in the space that we have, and kind of, we already had 4 stages, but I think, maybe 5 stages, and this year we took it to 8. So to like add almost double what we had already, like there was definitely a few sound clashes between hemp redemption stage and education stage, but not only should there not be them sound clashes next year, but hemp redemption stage is going to be also in the woods, in a different area of the woods, which will be like a chill, outdoorsy feel, because it's where the picnic benches will be for people to eat food, and hopefully we'll hear the music coming from the hemp redemption stage also in that area, so their stage will feel so much more like how it should be. That stage should be in some like woodlandsy, outdoorsy kind of area. So
brilliant. Nice one, Jordan. And not a question, but just another lovely comment.
Had the best time at VCO 2024. Thanks, Jordan. That's from Animals Are Innocent.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Oh, and our Ashley and all, I have been incredibly lucky to go twice now to VCO, and it's like nothing else I've ever attended. It's such a beautiful time and place.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
that's awesome. I'm sure you're used to reading shed loads of comments like this, Jordan, but then also I know equally that you have to contend with you know, some less than glowing comments on occasion as well.
I'm going to touch on that very briefly because I've noticed a couple of questions in the chat tonight, and I'm not ignoring you. I am moving past them because they've already been answered by Vegan Campout on their page. And if you want to go along and have a look at the announcements that have been made on there, please do so. But we're not going to muddy any waters. The fact is, it is the biggest and best vegan campout in the world. And some of the people that are kind of mourning and like, oh, well, there's got to be something to do with animals there somewhere. We all shop in supermarkets, full stop.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy also for you to ask me one of them questions if you want to. Like, it's always good to kind of, you know, address issues that people have and answer them in a way. Like, I find when we explain things to people, like you said, there's three groups, because there's people who have a really good time, but then even in the people that have, you know, constructive criticism, there's people that have constructive criticism, and that's good to speak to. It's only the people who are, you know, kind of purposely being negative and spamming your posts and stuff like that. And that's why I try not even read the comments too much anymore. When you said about, you know, I'm used to reading positive comments, like not necessarily all that much now. Like, that's why this year's camp out, going out and so many people speaking to me was like quite a, you know, crazy experience, because it's been years since I've like read most of the comments. Like, sometimes I'll have a look, but yeah, if someone's asking like a constructive criticism or just a very open question of a concern they have, we like and you know, and enjoy answering them questions, because, you know, people are gonna have concerns, and I think it's important to answer. So yeah, feel free to ask me one of them if you want to about next year's venue. That's fine.
I think one of the things, just whilst Paul's having a quick look through the chat and any other questions that have come through, I think one of the things that kind of I only really fully appreciated was when we had the big chat with you a couple of years ago, Jordan, was just, I don't think a lot of people really fully grasp the amount of research and planning and work that goes specifically into finding the right venue and being as ethical as you can be running a festival, as you've said yourself before, and the team on your socials, in a non-vegan world, you know. And I think some people struggle to kind of wrap their heads around that sometimes, and I'll be honest with you, I don't understand why. It's a difficult one for me to swallow, really.
No, it's such a true point. Only earlier, my friend who's in some local vegan group sent me a screenshot, and he already knows because we spoke for years about like venues and issues. And he said, oh, there's another post today in some Facebook group saying how they're not happy at the venue you're at. And these are a load of comments of people. And some were like nice and saying, how about here? But many were just like, oh, that's no excuse. What about here? What about here? And every venue he sent me, I said, I've visited every single one of these venues that people have mentioned. And like almost all of them were like massively into like, you know, hunting or shooting or that kind of thing. So it was just quite interesting to see, you know, like I say, some like just, I guess, wanting to be helpful people, but then also people that were saying it in kind of like a toxic way. But both people were saying, well, what about this venue? What about this venue? And they were venues that like we've all visited over the last few years that either, you know, didn't want us, or we decided were so big on like hunting and shooting issues that it wasn't gonna work. So yeah, I think it's so true that people have a lot of ideas, and like I say, I always want to hear people's ideas if they're in a healthy and positive way. But you know, people also have a lot of ideas who aren't saying it in a productive way, and the irony is we probably know more about them places that they're recommending than they do, type thing. So yeah, I think a lot of people don't obviously know, you know, even 10% of what happens behind the scenes, and that's understandable. Like, because they're not festival organizers. But I always say to people, like, that's why don't say it in a way of that you know more than them, because I would never speak more about like drag stuff than you guys would, right? Because I don't know anything about it. That doesn't mean I might not have questions. I might say, yeah, but how come you do that? And how can you do that? But I'm asking it in a, I want you to explain your field of expertise to me. It would never be a like, well, I know more about drag than those guys do, because it's like, obviously not. Do you know what I mean? So it's, I think it's the way you ask questions rather than coming at it from like a derogatory sense, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Natasha has a question now that you've said like she's already got a ticket for next year, but she's saying, can you provide some further information on your claim that no money from hiring Bygrave Wood will go to the Farr family, the landowners? Are they allowing the events company to rent it for free?
Yeah,
now,
I saw
caveats here.
Yeah. Oh, were you going to say that? Or
No, go on.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So just to be clear, because I bet most people listen to this won't even know what that question means, but with all venues in the UK, certainly big outdoor venues, all of them, literally all of them, are set from like 2 or 3, because like I say, I have spreadsheets for like every venue. So, you know, 99.9% of all large outdoor events in the UK are either owned by people that are involved in, you know, hunting activities or animal farming activities, because they're in the countryside, right? And these people are business people, or them venues themselves host hunts, or they have a livestock farm, so they literally, you know, farm animals, or they have pheasant shoots within the land. Every single venue we've been at to date, maybe not like the first venue we were ever at, because that was like 400 people and it was just a campsite. But even then, we don't know what the owner of that campsite got up to when he wasn't there, right? I'm just presuming from what I knew, which was very little, that venue is excluded. But in terms of like every big vegan camp out venue we've been at, every single venue has ticked one of them 2 things. Either the owners are involved with animal farming activities, hunting or shooting, or they host them activities directly on their land. We've been at venues that are one, we've been at venues that are the other. We've always had a strong ethical stance about being at venues that have both, because, you know, even though that has made our number of venues that we can be at so much smaller, but we knew like they're always going to be one of them 2. And so let's just go for them, Paul, rather than those that are both. And so next year's venue is exactly the same, that people who are involved with the ownership of the land are also involved in certain, you know, animal farming activities. I think it's chicken farming for the most part. But at the same time, like, people have commented saying things like, oh, so your money's going to a chicken farm. And then it's like, well, like, yes, he's a chicken farmer, but actually that's one of his like 10 plus businesses. So, you know, all of them other businesses are like construction and arable farming and a whole bunch of things. But yes, one of his businesses is a chicken farm. But 2, which is a statement we put out last week, and the question is asking about, we asked directly, where is our money going? And if our money is going to the landowners rather than the site managers, is that money going to funnel in any way into his chicken business? Which, even that by itself doesn't make sense. And we've said this to people, like, if someone has 3 businesses, if they're a kebab shop owner, they're a sanctuary owner, and they're a taxi driver, which I know that's hypocritical, they wouldn't be all 3, but that doesn't mean that the money that someone pays for a taxi is going to go into the sanctuary or is going to go into the kebab shop, right? Like, business doesn't usually work like that. They don't all funnel each other. But anyway, we asked the questions, worked it out, and not only is no money going into anything to do with, you know, chicken farming or animal farming activities, but the money isn't even going to the landowners. It's going to the site managers, who is a company run by like a lifelong vegetarian, used to be a hunt sab himself, has made sure that the land he now like has the lease and gets all the events in, like ours for. He's made sure that land has nothing to do with animal farming, shooting, hunting. So a few people have said, what? So are the landowners just giving the land for free? And it's like, well, no, like, expanding sites, because this site is trying to turn itself into like the best festival event site in the UK, basically, that means they're using that money. Like, obviously, they'll have an agreement with the landowners, and further down the line, I'm sure they'll reap some of the rewards, even though, like I said, we've found out that money wouldn't be used for them activities anyway. But our rent money for the next many years that we're going to be at that venue all goes directly back into the land. So making the festival site a better festival site for festivals, basically. They said to us, they're wanting to invest hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds, which is way more. Like, what we're paying them is a drop in the ocean, but that money will get used to build more roads at the site and better water pipes and infrastructure. I think they're discussing Wi-Fi a few years down the line. So that is what the money is going to be used for.
Absolutely brilliant.
And I do understand that people have these questions and people start rumors and they propagate around the internet, and then everyone's like, blah, 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 blah. But what we all of us have to warn is that most of us shop in supermarkets, and supermarkets fund animal agriculture. So we don't go and buy animal stuff from supermarkets, but we're still funding the supermarkets.
I was just going to say, and more than that, just because some people turn around and say, well, we have to eat and festivals aren't a necessity, which, sure, is a small, a decent difference between them two comparables. But every vegan event you go to is also held at land whose owners are into anti-vegan activities, or it's held at a market hall that profits from the sale and horse shows and farmers shows. So it's the exact same connections, even Absolutely. With other vegan events. Like, we've done research recently. Our friend sent us this long article showing that in some cities in the UK, basically every vegan restaurant, and it's not just vegan restaurants, it's every building, every hospitality restaurants and stuff, but many vegan restaurants in entire cities in the UK are owned by hunters, because hunters have that much real estate and thingies. So it's exactly the same of that. When you go to a vegan restaurant that isn't a necessity, their landowners and their landlords are also hunting groups. So it's the same connections that unfortunately impact us, impact other vegan events, impact even vegan restaurants, and like you say, of course, impact supermarkets. But
the thing is, we don't live in a vegan world yet. And if we did, things would be very different.
Yeah.
We all have to navigate and kind of, we all have to navigate.
We do. And I really appreciate your answer there, Jordan. I think you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. And I think the other thing as well is just going back to particularly that I want to pull that word that you used, which was necessity. And I think what I thought when you said that was, well, no, technically, yes, you're absolutely right. It's not a necessity. But then I think sometimes people get so caught up in the negativity and the questioning and some of the BS and that you've had to deal with, that they forget sometimes that all of the good that comes from Vegan Camp Out. So going to Vegan Camp Out and putting on a vegan festival and doing all of that, no, it isn't a necessity. But actually, when we're trying to get the messaging out into the world and we're trying to bring people together and show what can be done and what can be achieved, and that's not even getting into the fact that there's people who come to Vegan Camp Out that aren't vegan and they leave vegan. It's an incredible thing. So it's not a necessity, but actually it's a powerful thing that exists in the world to get the vegan
camp out. And even if Vegan Camp Out isn't a necessity, like living and being a human and having fun and socializing is a necessity. Like, no one is going to say, like, this is a thing. And it's like what you said, when you operate from negativity, you will come up with these arguments. But it's like, even then, people who are saying that are not living in their house, only doing the things they need to survive. Of course, they're going to the cinema or going to a festival or going to a sporting event or, having Netflix, all things that aren't necessities, that their owners are involved in animal agriculture in some way. And so we are paying them in all of these things. So it's like, yeah, sure, Camp Out isn't a necessity, but having fun and socializing and going to events and being part of the world is a necessity. Otherwise, you would be so depressed that you'd not want to live anymore. And that's not good for the vegan movement and getting the message out there. So, yeah.
I think that the positive impact that Vegan Camp Out has on every single person who attends far outweighs anything. I mean, look at Karen here. Thanks, Jordan, and your team. We had such an amazing time at VCO 24 to be surrounded by so many lovely people who have the same values. Can we have a VCO every month, please? No, Karen.
No, we've got to think about people's mental health and sanity. I think Ashley mentioned that before about just kind of, you know, the mental health and well-being of the team, yourself, Jordan, and the team around you, you know, and going back to what you said before about the reduced numbers for VCO 2025 and not having quite that same level of stress in terms of selling those tickets.
Vanessa says, you don't have to apologise for asking a nice question, Vanessa. The chap who hosted the music stage was hilarious. Is he coming back next year?
Yeah, people loved him last year as well. Yeah, I would like to hope so for sure. We haven't had any chats as of yet, but yeah, I've seen quite a few comments about how much people like him, so that's nice.
Oh, and can we officially announce in this vlog that the Vegan Queens are back in 2025? Once again, hosting Mind and Body After Dark with karaoke, and we will be putting out our application forms to apply to perform on the stage over the next couple of months. Just wanted to let you all know that.
Wedge that one in there. Yeah.
Right, let's see if there's any more. Oh, that's a good point there from Will and Chris. Leisure time is a necessity. We found connecting with other vegans really
reinvigorated us too.
Yeah.
Nice one, Will. Yeah, really good point there. Really good point. Yeah, it is. It's life affirming for some people. It's reinvigorating for people. It refuels people in terms of going back out into the non-vegan world and continuing to fight the good fight. Not meaning to sound dramatic, but sometimes it does feel like a fight when you just live in your day-to-day life. And it does all of that and so much more. So yeah, salutes to you all. I'm
going to show that one. Thanks, Natasha. She says, yes, so glad to hear you'll be back next year. Mind and Body After Dark was the best part of VCO 2024. Thanks, Natasha. For those that didn't see any of that, by the way, there is the Vegan Queens vlog now linked in the chat, which shows you from the Queen's perspective. Yes. And we had an amazing weekend, just completely amazing. But like you, Jordan, it's double whammy in some ways, because we've got people who are subscribers and fans of those vegan guys, and also people who are subscribers and fans of the Vegan Queens. So while we were walking around, and it was almost always the three of us, it was, oh, hi, and we were like, oh, who are you saying hi to? Or us? Or us? But we met we literally met hundreds of people this time around.
Yeah, I mean, it's glorious. It's absolutely glorious. I mean, we're still kind of, every time we think about it, we kind of, I have a warm fuzzy glow about just the simple things of just kind of like walking around, eating, sitting on the grass, being up close for the talks and the music, but also kind of having that ambient sort of background, just hearing it all going off in the background and everything. And yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. Jordan, you've gone into some detail about just the level of work that that goes into doing something like this. So I think I already know the answer to this one, but Peter has asked a question about, I suppose, just in general, the likelihood and the possibility of VCO going further in terms of other countries like Canada and the USA. What are your thoughts on that, if you've got any?
Yeah, well, we did one in Australia last year. I don't know necessarily what's going to happen with that over the next few years, just because of our time and the company who are doing it in Australia and their time and what they're currently doing in their life. But that was amazing. And yeah, was a really nice first event. And Australia to me is always like the second place you go to as opposed to America, not necessarily in terms of like business and where the most amount of people are at, but like, yeah, I feel the UK has more of a synergy these days with Australia because they're a bit more similar to us than Americans are. And for me, like I try and spend at least a month or two in Australia still every year since I moved back there from there a few years ago. Well, 10 years ago now, but so yeah, so we did it there. So that was amazing. But yeah, the plan is always to bring it to America. We are in talks and have been in talks with a few different companies over the last few years. It's just about like setting a date, making it happen, doing all the boring, legal and business stuff. But yeah, it's definitely the plan, whether it's next year or 2026 or a company kind of just like completely franchises it from us and we don't have any work to do type thing. But however we do it, yeah, it's absolutely our plan to make it happen somehow.
That's great to know, Jordan. I mean, I can fully appreciate that these things take time and a significant amount of back and forth. But I should imagine that a lot of the people viewing now and a lot of the people, a lot of our community, from other parts of the world will be really kind of excited about the possibility that Vegan Camp Out might suddenly, in the next couple of years appear closer to them, because we do have quite a lot of people in the community that live in the States and in other parts of the world.
Hey, some people from the States flew over to VCO this
Totally.
year. It was like quite a few.
International.
Yeah. So VCO 2025 is in Bygrave Woods. Once again, we invite you to go and have a look at the social media, be it the Facebook page or the Instagram page of Vegan Camp Out. You'll see a gorgeous little reel that Jordan did and showed the venue and walked into the trees. It all looks incredibly beautiful. As we've discovered, it's going to be as big, as diverse and inclusive as it was last year, even better as it was this year, even better again. It's just going to be a smaller number of people and there's going to be trees for shade.
And also for those that want to come a day earlier from the Thursday, which we thought like quite a lot of people would do it, maybe like a third, maybe like half at the very most, but I think it's like 70% of everyone that's bought a ticket so far has bought the extra day pass, even though nothing's really going to be happening on that day again, but like there'll still be like DJ sets and like open mic and stuff like that, but none of like the main stage or the official music stage activities will start until Friday evening still. So it's just another day for people to socialize, set up, eat food, buy from the stalls. Like I say, there will be some music and DJ sets and stuff. So yeah, the fact that like 70% of people have done that is pretty cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, does that mean, by the way, because it's in the new venue, does it mean that there won't be any midnight cutoff point for sound?
Yeah. So it will be until 1:30 a.m. every night. So yeah, we get a bit longer as well, which is cool because we've always been a much later festival. Like from the start of Vegan Camp Out up until 2022, it's only at the venue we were at this year and last year that had such like strict regulation times. So that was another big benefit of like moving to a new venue where like we were still ethically happy with it, still had enough space, also had things that the old venue didn't have, like later times and trees and shade and that type of stuff. So yeah, that's why we're so happy with this new venue. I think there was one. Oh no, that is all the changes. Oh, of course, like the date is different as well. So
end of August.
Yeah, we have to be last weekend of August now, just because of availability at that venue. But yeah, the pros far outweigh the negatives. And we were the last weekend of August from like 2018 through to 2021 anyway. So it's like we've been at that date for like almost half of our of all camp outs anyway. So yeah, it is what it is.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Thoroughly
Right.
looking forward to
Well,
it.
when we bring this to a close, which we're going to do really shortly, we will add a link pinned in the first comment to where you can go and buy your tickets for Vegan Camp Out 2025. If you've never been, guys, come along, please. It's beautiful. You'll see us, you'll see the Vegan Queens, you'll see Jordan, hopefully not pacing up and down the field trying to sort out a water shortage.
Possibly.
But we already know so many people have already bought tickets. We're really excited about it. And Jordan, thank you so much for coming on a live chat, answering some questions and telling us all about VCO 2025. We can't wait.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, like I said earlier, and I can say this now, but yeah, basically next week we're announcing that 40% of all of the tickets have already been sold. We're not quite there yet. It's probably like 37, 38%, but yeah, by next week it'll be 40. So yeah, and then we'll announce everything in November in terms of full, lineup and who's going to be there, and then more details, after that. So yeah, if you've never been before, come next year. It's going to be even way better than this year, for all the reasons we've discussed. So yeah,
we totally get it, Jordan. It's like, when it's entertainment, and particularly something on this scale, it's kind of trickle feed, isn't it, of information.
Yeah.
You can't just chuck it all out there. It's got to be,
it's so much work as well that you have to trickle it, because you're just always on okay, now we announce this, now we announce food, now we announce the music. So yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah, like Paul said, thanks so much for being here, Jordan. Miasma, of course, thank you for being here and for your input.
I've enjoyed watching you nod.
Thanks to the community for the great questions and the input, and also just the comments in general from those who particularly have experienced VCO before. Lots of really beautiful comments for Jordan and the team. And it really is a mammoth undertaking, as we've touched on in this evening's chat. So yeah, I think we're about right to wrap things up there, aren't we?
And please share this video with your friends, your family, your pizza delivery guy, your dog, your cat, everybody, so that they can, get to find out more about VCO 2025. I'll pin the link in the first comment. Get your tickets. Love you, mister. Love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers, Jordan. We will see you again very soon. And until then, please be excellent to yourselves and each other. Bye, loves.